Now, to a certain segment of the online vintage community, you might start doing some hooting and hollering when I start showing the next item because it developed its own cult following in the channel of Crazy Lamp Lady. She had one of these, Jocelyn of Crazy Lamp Lady had one of these, and if it had not been for watching her video, I would not have known what this was when I stumbled across it. Lucky for me, they didn't know what it was either.
Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hi, this is Patrick with Trusty Huckster Mercantile. Welcome to my channel. I'm doing a little bit of a catch-up haul video. I had done a couple stops last week. I went and, yay, got my second vaccine, which did require me to drive 2 hours to get it, but I hit some thrift stores and antique stores along the way. So I never did shoot video there, so I really didn't do a haul video for those. And then I did just recently post a series of videos from shopping in Elburn, Illinois, and because I actually filmed so much in the stores, I didn't really have the time or room in the video to put in an actual haul video. So said I'd do some highlights later, and it's later. So what I'm going to highlight are some of the more interesting items and actually a couple of items that maybe you'll give me information on, things that I know a little bit about or knew enough about to make sure I wanted to pick them up, but I need to do some more research. And one of those examples is right here. So this I picked up in the Quad Cities, which is at the Iowa-Illinois border. That's where I got my vaccine. This one happened to be at a independent thrift shop, and their pricing was all over the place. Some things were super, super reasonably priced, and other things were ludicrously high. Laughably high, but whatever, they're allowed to do whatever they want. I just skipped over the expensive stuff. So this is one of the items that fell in that I just really liked the looks of it. And if you're familiar with my channel, I don't tend to carry religious items all that often. But this to me is kind of like a religious item along the lines of The Sound of Music. It is, I'm going to assume, a nun. It somewhat has the look of and line of a Yadro, but it is bisque, which Yadros are not. And it is signed, but I will admit I've tried to do some research already, and I can't find much on this. At the bottom, it says, I want to make sure I said it right, because it's C-E-B, Cerbreros. C-E-B-R-E-R-O-S. Cerbero. I Googled. So Cerbreros, I think is the way it would be, is a town in Spain. And then when I did a little bit of more digging, I was able to find that they do have a porcelain manufacturing center there. I don't know if it's big. There were some items that I found that were also marked Cerbreros, but no major names. And this one actually wasn't an image that I found. And the fact that this one, again, it's unglazed, it's the bisque. So if you're familiar with Wedgwood's Jasperware, it's got that kind of a finish to it. Where actually several of the ones that I saw posted did have finishes to them. So the Cerbreros evidently is the town, maybe the porcelain manufacturer. And then underneath, on the opposite side, there's the E, and then it looks like a period. And then there's a separate word, Alonso, A-L-O-N-S-O, which I think is a name. So I'm thinking that's the artist done in the town of Cerbreros. But I can't really find anything about this. The examples I found of the Cerbreros porcelain, nothing was particularly valuable. There was definitely value more than what I was paying for it. From what I could tell, if they could easily research it and guess, then see that it was being listed for ridiculous prices on eBay, they put ridiculous prices on it. But if they researched it and couldn't really find anything, like this one, they just threw, a random price just as a decorative object. So that's why I picked it up. So I do believe if I can do a little bit more research, I might fine tune a little bit So if you know anything about this particular porcelain center or this particular style of porcelain, I'd love to hear it. I've started to clean it up. I still need to do a little bit more. It was pretty dingy, but it's in great condition. There's no chips, no cracks. All of her fingers are still there. You know, it's a really great looking piece. So I'm definitely going to be including that. And most likely this will just go into a live sale because, again, without a lot of other information about Cerbreros or this artist, it's not going to really come up or get populated very well in an Etsy search. So I'd rather just sell it in a live sale. So that was one of the items that I picked up in, well, I almost said in Iowa. I wasn't technically in Iowa. I could have thrown a stone, but in the Quad Cities near Iowa. So I didn't really have a flow of how I was going to do the video, but I think what I want to do is go ahead and stick with items that I found at that specific thrift shop. Because they did have an interesting pricing structure, and as I looked more, it really did seem tied to how easy it was to research something. But if it was difficult for them to research, they just put low prices on, and this was another example. This has, so I've got to do it at an angle, and I think this is part of the problem. If you look at it dead on, you don't really see what the label says. So if you have to kind of like get the raking light on there, and if you look, part of the label's been damaged because it does have kind of this like holographic mirror image type thing on there. But if you look at the end of it, that clearly is an IQUE. You combine that with the fact that you have a frosted glass figurine of a deco style nude. This is Lalique. They didn't know it, and they didn't price it as if it was Lalique. So I just put it in my little pile, checked out, very happy. So this is in absolutely perfect condition. I don't know the name of it, but pretty simple search: nude figure, Lalique, goat. You get some interesting search terms sometimes, because I do think that is a goat. Or maybe a lamb. But anyway, several of these came up. This is actually it deserves to go onto Etsy, but there are so many of these available, it'll probably go into my live sale because it'll just get lost in the world of Etsy, because this is relatively common. But even at the lowest price that they are currently listed for or have been selling for, it's 10 times, more than 10 times of what they had it marked for as a decorative object. So I was very happy to have picked that up, and I will be offering this in a live sale at a very attractive price, simply because I don't want to have to sit there and have it just languish along with all the dozens of others that are listed. Now, to a certain segment of the online vintage community, you might start doing some hootin' and hollerin' when I start showing the next item, because it developed its own cult following in the channel of Crazy Lamp Lady about 2 years ago. It wasn't last summer, it was the summer before COVID. She had one of these, Jocelyn of Crazy Lamp Lady had one of these, and if it had not been for watching her video, I would not have known what this was when I stumbled across it. Lucky for me, they didn't know what it was either. It is a Dresden wreath. Petite Choses is the other name that they're listed under. The holiday, or a holiday wreath. So this one, there are many different styles. This one is the 10-inch version, so it's not the massive one. But this one is a mixture of various holidays tied with the animal theme. So sometimes the holidays are tied with butterflies, sometimes they're tied with leaves. This one is following an animal, so you've got the rhinoceros, the owl, the alligator, and then Father Christmas. And then you've got a dog and a dove, and then what's hiding back here looks like some sort of a big cat. And then a turkey with being hunted by a pilgrim. And then you've got a girl pushing a heart in a wheelbarrow, and then a bear. And then some Easter chicks and a big Easter egg, and a buffalo, and then another Christmas tree, and then an elk, and then a fox and a swan and a rooster, and at the top some kids decorating the Christmas tree. So it is, and then you got another Easter one there, Easter bunny carrying the basket. So you've got some very traditional Victorian designs. What is not in this one, which does appear to be a defining or differential between a lot of the petite choses that are listed, this does not have the jack-o'-lantern. So I will, admit that right out of the gate. But even without the jack-o'-lantern, these go for a very attractive price. And it happened to be the first thing that I picked up while I was there. And it was one of those cases, because I hadn't noticed their pricing yet. It's one of those cases I didn't want to look too anxious to pick it up, but I never let it down once I picked it up, because I was afraid somebody else would recognize it for what it really was. So this will probably end up being one of the items I put up as an auction, because even though there are some of these listed on eBay right now, either as auction or as buy it now, none of them are identical. I don't know if they were by design, if they were all slightly different, but I can't find any that has this exact same combination of animals and holidays. So I do think that this would qualify for a good online option. So what I've been doing as part of the sales is I'll announce what is going to go up in the auction. I do one auction a week, and then I announce the winner and then announce the next auction. So this will not be the next auction because this is going to be the next auction. So this was another item that I picked up there, and it was one of those where I was starting to feel like there should be a camera watching people shopping just to see what their reactions are when they see their prices, because I picked this up, knew instantaneously this was an Amphora check piece from over 100 years ago, but it was literally behind like a hair dryer. I mean, it was in a really weird location. And I picked this puppy up, flipped it around, saw the Amphora name on the bottom, which is what I had expected. The bird design, which I've since discovered or researched and got the help of people on Instagram, that is a kingfisher. The kingfisher design. These sell for good money. And they sell kind of across the board because it's hard. There's many different styles of vase. There's many different styles of decoration. This one is incised. So the clay has actually been cut into so that all of these black lines are actually, you can feel that they are recessed and then they're glazed over them. Almost no two are alike. I can't find anything that looks like this. I found, thanks to one of my viewers, Brooke Lagan, at the archive, she found a kingfisher vase with the same stamp on it listed on Cherish that was currently listed for $180. But that was 71% off. So the original price was much, much higher. And I think this has a more attractive form. So it's one of those cases that I don't think there is a standard price for these. So that's why when I put things up for auction, it really is an example of what auctions are designed to be. Let the market determine its true value. Now, it still may not be the true value because it's going to be who can find it. And my channel is not very big, so, it is what it is. But I've decided that this will be the next one that I do. Not necessarily for any particular reason, but because this one did already go public, because I was trying to find out what the bird was. That's why this will be the next one, because people already know about it. If you're watching this video, you know about the wreath too, but, so you'll have something to look forward to. So this one will probably be this week's listing, and then the wreath will be next week's listing. But again, a couple other items that I picked up along the way. I can't remember. I picked something up at each place, and I can't remember now which came from which, but I did 3 stops on the way there and back from the Quad Cities. And this was one of them that I wanted to highlight, because in the world of Goodwill, I paid up for it, but it was because that I felt it was worth it. It is a Sadler teapot that actually happens to have the original paperwork in for it was a the collectability. So these are the collectible teapots. They have a range of them. And the one that I picked up is the King Arthur one, which doesn't even appear to be on this list. I didn't realize that. Oh, I guess it's the Castile Folklore is the one that I have. So it's this one. So there's the series, the Castile Folklore series. So there was King Arthur, Bonnie Prince Charlie, and Robin Hood. And I have the King Arthur. So it says right on the lid, King Arthur's Court, there in blue. And then Sir Lancelot, Knight of the Round Table, is on the opposite side. And then just shields on the front and back. And that sets into a rectangularly shaped teapot that has kind of the castle design around the front and top. And then King Arthur and his court on one side and Sir Lancelot on his horse on the other. It's in absolutely pristine condition, and they sell fairly regularly online. So it's one of those cases I haven't decided yet if I'm going to list it on Etsy because this is an ideal Etsy item. What I need to find out, I did just a really quick search when I was there to make sure I wanted to pick it up because it was priced well, but it was priced higher than normal, a typical item at a Goodwill. I need to see if there's anything, if there are a lot listed on Etsy, that'll pretty much always dictate that I will shift it to an live sale, because if there's just too much competition, if there's too many listings, it just becomes a chase to the lowest price. And I am usually one of the lowest price offers because I try and pick up things at good prices so I can offer them at good prices. But it's going to languish if there's too many of them listed. So I will just want to move this quickly. And so most likely this will end up on a live sale. If not, watch for it on my Etsy store. So this was kind of a fun one because I was doing a lot with teapots. I didn't do particularly well with them, but this one seemed to be something a little bit more special. And more importantly, if I do decide to put it onto Etsy, a ton of keywords that will help sell it. Teapot is not a keyword that helps sell anything on Etsy, but because this is Sir Lancelot and King Arthur and Sadler Porcelain and that Castile series, all those things help people find it. That's what plays the game on Etsy. So that was one of the items that I picked up at one of the thrift stores. And then what I can't remember is if this was at the same thrift store or not, but Mongo bag of Dollhouse furniture. So I've sold Dollhouse furniture before. I've never really picked it up kind of in this way. So there's several rooms of furniture in here. And as I kind of dug along, some of it you can tell is marked and it says made in Hong Kong. The pillows, the bedding that's on there has a Fisher-Price logo on it. I think one of them said made in Mexico. So I'm not sure. I mean, this is probably going into the 80s. It is plastic, so it's at least 70s, probably 80s. I'll probably divide it into the individual rooms because it looks like there's some bedroom furniture with a bed and some bedding. There's some bathroom furniture because there's this really cool, what I thought was a refrigerator is actually a shower. So the door opens and you can see there on the side, there's the shower head. So this massive box that I thought initially was a refrigerator is actually the shower. I'm not sure if there actually is a refrigerator in here, but there's a stove. You see the stove kind of there off to the side, orange and yellow stove. So by colors, I'm thinking there might be 70s too. Maybe even late 60s with some of that green. But anyway, I will divvy this up and probably just sell it as individual room lots. I have customers that have purchased from me before, and when I come across Dollhouse furniture, I'll usually also let them have first dibs at it. So this is something that most likely will definitely be in a live sale versus on Etsy. But if it never shows up at a live sale, it's because some of the other customers got to me first. And that's actually worth noting for just about anything that I show in these haul videos. If you're interested in it, grab it. Drop me a note, send me a comment in the video, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Basically, I'm going to sell it. Even if I say I'm going to go to Etsy, I'm going to sell it. If you're interested in it ahead of time and I don't have to go through taking the pictures and all that, sure, I'll work with you. So if you see anything you like, let me know, and it could be yours too. As I mentioned, I did post a video that showed some shopping in Elburn, Illinois at a number of different locations, but I never did the haul video attached to that. So I'm throwing in a couple of the items that I picked up at those stores. One of them is this Mexican pottery. It is not marked Tonala. It actually is signed in two different places. It says Mexico. So it's got Mexico there up at the top and then Mexico there at the bottom. So they really wanted you to know it's Mexican pottery. Admittedly, when I picked it up, I did not see that it has this little chip on the back, but luckily it is on the back so you can't see it. But normally I wouldn't pick something up that had damage. But it was a good price. This is definitely something I'll put into one of the upcoming live sales. I considered editing the video to highlight it, but it didn't show it well enough. I was in the room and videotaped one of the rooms, and I did scan over these. But this is some textiles that I had picked up. I originally thought it was a dresser set of some sort, or dresser scarf, and I've had these before, and I've had people have commented on suggestions of how they would have been used, and they sometimes have these little side pieces. And I've heard everything from, the little side pieces would be at the ends of a very long table. Maybe you'd put the candelabra on those, and then there'd sometimes be a bigger piece in the middle, and that's where you'd put the centerpiece bowl. So I saw the two little side pieces, and then I'm like, oh, look, here's the big pieces. Here's the big piece that goes with it. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There's multiples of these. Turns out there are 5 of this pennant style piece. So one of the suggestions when I showed it the last time was, were they valances for curtains? I wasn't sure the last time, and I'm not sure now, because the top of the piece is finished. So the only way this would have been a curtain rod is you would have had to fold it down, in which case you would have lost that finish. And there's no indication on here that these have ever been stitched down or even folded, where if they were, if they'd been hanging on a rod for any period of time, you'd see, some wear or discoloration. So I do believe that these are designed to go onto a table. I just don't know how. And in this particular case, there are 5 of them. I have no idea how you would use these. If you had a really big round table, you could have a centerpiece bowl and then these sticking out around all 5 sides, with that would look kind of cool. But then when you do with these random long pieces. So, I was shopping with a friend when we found these, and she said, well, maybe there were supposed to be 6 and one got damaged. Okay, that I could see that, where if you had a really long table, you could put 3 on each side and one has gotten damaged, so you've got 5. I don't really know, but they are cool. They are home done, and I've talked about this before. You can see, this is probably like an even better example than normal, but you can see how many stitches that were carried, how sloppy it is on the back. And that's not a criticism to the sewer in any way, but when you see that if the pattern on the back looks identical to the pattern on the front, it's almost definitely done by machine, because a person can't do it. But if you're doing it by hand, you're going to have to tie off the knots. You're going to have to change color of the thread. You're going to have things show up on the back. And so this was hand done. I'm not sure when you get into like the lace pieces, like I'm not sure if this is done, how that's done. Like that would be done on a modern machine. Like that would just be a serge stitch. This appears to be, I don't know, it's on both sides. So it is a zigzag stitch of some sort. So I don't know if it's a decorative stitch or if it was stitched and then cut away. I've heard of stitching like that before, but that's something when my wife and I owned the quilt shop, we didn't really get into stuff like that. So it's kind of like a candle wicking, type look. Anyway, I thought they were really cool. These I'll also definitely offer up in a live sale, partly because I don't know what they are. And because I don't know what they are, it's hard to put them up as with a a keyword that anybody would find in eBay or Etsy. So I can do kind of this rambling long discussion and show them off in a live sale, and people can make the determination, hey, those are pretty cool, and they can pick them up. So this came from one of the antique shops in Elburn. I've talked about this concept in the past about the difference between buying with your head and buying with your heart. And usually what I mean by that is, if you know something is worth or not worth something based on what you're about to pay for it, if you're a reseller, you'll sometimes, if you're using your head, you will say, you know what, as great as it is and as beautiful as it is, I can't afford to pick that up and then try and resell it because there's just not enough money in there for it to be worth my time, my shipping material, whatever, fill in the blank. If you buy with your heart, you're then saying, you know what, I'm not going to make nearly as much money as I would want to or that I typically do, but oh man, that either needs to be saved or it needs to be shown to the world or whatever, and you buy it even though you're not going to make a lot of money simply because it's the right thing to do. And other times it's the latter because it's fun. And this is one of the items that happened to me during the trip to Elburn. I came across these discs that are extremely thick. And immediately I went to my I almost called her a resident. She doesn't live here, but that's what the internet is for. I texted Katie from Vintage and Vinyl, sent her some pictures, and said, what are these? And she almost instantaneously came back and said, these are Edison diamond discs. They are not common at all. And she said, you need to grab it. And I hadn't even told her what they were priced at that time. And then I said, well, there are 3 of them. And she's like, you need to get all of them. So we talked a little bit further, and it's one of those cases where what they're worth isn't extreme. They're not exceptionally valuable. Some of them can be valuable. These all tend to be, I have 3 of them. I'm just going to show you one here. These are all songs or albums that are of questionable musicality. Beautiful Isle of Somewhere by J.S. Ferris, tenor and baritone with mixed chorus. And then Kathleen Mavernine, baritone and chorus with orchestra, Thomas Chalmers. Racing to the top of the charts, I'm sure. But in talking to Katie and listening to her talk about what these are, I just thought they'd be fun to have in a live sale. Because I've done a deep dive with Katie on vintage vinyl, and she didn't even have one of these to show. So these are Edison diamond disc. You can see the Edison brand right there on the front. And what's special about them is they're of the earlier model because they are significantly thicker than normal, and they spin at 80 RPM. So 78 became the standard. So this is before things were standardized. And I have 3 of them, and they all appear to be in great shape. Now, I don't have any way to play them, so I have no idea. But they have their registration marks. They don't have sleeves or anything. To me, these are going to be purchased either by a collector that maybe just wants to build up their collection, and that's great. But I'll be selling them really as kind of a piece of industrial decor, because this sitting in the backdrop, well, hell, this sitting up here looks kind of cool. Katie just had a heart attack because I just held it by the grooves. Sorry, Katie. This just looks cool in any sort of a vintage, and it's just a nice black background. Or if Katie's not watching, you can use it as a platform and put something on top of it. If you're doing a table vignette or something, that's where, if you're going to still take care of it, but if you're not going to listen to it, you have to figure out, well, what is the collectability of things like this? And the fact is, if somebody walks into your home and sees this in a vignette or sees this as part of a display, their first thing is going to be like, that can't be a real record. Look how thick it is. And so then you'll know, oh, hey, I heard about Katie was talking about these, and she said, and then you suddenly have this great conversation piece for what won't be that much money. So I'm not going to make a lot of money on these, but I decided I picked up all 3 of them. I'll do them as the first 3 grab lot, type thing, because none of the titles are meaningful, I'm sure, to anybody. and they're just going to be fun to have. And so they were just kind of a fun little addition, and hopefully they'll be easy to ship. The last item I'm going to show actually happens to have come from the last stop I made in making that video in Elburn, and that was that Beautiful You resale shop, which, to be perfectly honest, I knew had existed, but I thought it was a clothing resale shop because they just have one little window that faces the street and it's filled with clothes. So, and there's nothing wrong with vintage clothes, it's just not anything that I deal with. So one of the antique stores that I was in asked if we'd been there, and I said, well, I don't really do clothes. And she's like, oh, no, they do a lot of stuff beyond clothes. And yes, they do. And these were one of the items that I found. So it's a pair of wooden, I'm going to say hand carved, but at least carved wooden molds. There's no markings anywhere on here, and it's been an interesting little trip down a rabbit hole trying to figure out what these are, because I do think there's some age to them. The wood has a little bit of patina on it, but not like massive amounts of wear. They're deep enough that I think they could definitely have been used, but if they've been used, they've been well used because there's no grease, there's no anything that's gotten on the back. So I don't know if these were just always on display. So there are a couple of names that came up. I will put them in the text here because I forgot to write them down. And one of them was like Dutch, and the other one was a name that started with an S. I can't remember even what it sounded like. Anyway, I don't know if these fall into those categories or not. So again, these particular designs, I want to say I might have found an example of her. I never found an example of him. So these designs I can't find, but the style is definitely out there. So these again will be something I will offer in a live sale because there's not an exact magic or system to what I should call these because they're not labeled in any way. So it's just a lot of keywords, and who knows. So anyway, I thought these were kind of fun and quite a surprise because I didn't even know that shop carried this type of stuff. So I actually got several small pieces there that I will definitely be including in some upcoming live sales, and was super excited to be able to tack them on. If you saw that video, I even say in the recording right before it, I say, this is my last stop. And then I had to change it and say, well, no, it's not. We went to that other stop. So ended up being 5 in the store, but in that video. But anyway, this came from the last stop, the Beautiful Youth Ministries resale shop, and was definitely worth the stop. So I'm going to stop there. It was really just kind of wanted to highlight some of the more special items that I'd found, some of the more unique items. I would definitely be interested in your feedback on some of those initial items that I showed you about the age, specifically the information on the nun, if you had any information on that. But I really appreciate your comments on any of the things that I've shown. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, be kind if you don't like something. We're not always going to be to everyone's taste. I've had to deal with a couple of extremely rude comments that have to go, but share what the idea, the types of things that I got, what types of things you collect, and I'm always on the lookout for new areas of collecting. Like I said, the LPs, that's not anything that I typically would carry, but because of doing the deep dives with Katie and talking to her and having a great resource with her to tell me, what's special and what's not special, it's fun to be able to offer those. Nothing I want to build in my personal collection, but it's something I can pass off to you. So I appreciate you watching the video. If you've gotten this far and you're not a subscriber, I'd really appreciate you going ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give a thumbs up to the video. Anything you do to interact with the video does help that video get found by more people on YouTube. I appreciate you giving me your time. I appreciate you putting your trust in Trusty Huckster, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye, finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.